While it's all right. While we didn't do it this year, so we recently hired 2 consultants, one to be a volunteer coordinator 20 hours a week, and another to help us bring on board new members at 15 hours a week. And for the time being, we kept them as consultants this year. But more than likely at the end of this year, having done some research over the course of the year, we're going to probably change people into part-time employees. And I know that one of the expenses we'll look at, and what we learned was, unemployment tax. In Virginia, when you hit 4 or more employees, you have to include unemployment tax on your agenda. We'll have to look at what the increased cost may be in our insurance coverage. And Doug had previously shared with us, one of the opportunities they have for paying a portion of people's health insurance. But over the course of this year, we're going to explore more fully the issue of human resources and potentially converting some of our contract consultants into part-time employees.
Elaine, I have a question. Is there, there's no big deal with doing a combo contractor employees thing as long as your contractors are below a threshold of hours, right?
Depends on the actual work they're doing. Are they performing in the capacity of a decision maker for the agency? If yes, then they really need to be an employee, not an independent contractor. It really depends, again, like on their true functionality. Do you have any specifics that you're thinking of?
I know for us, we can, when we're using them as consultants, we do recognize that they operate somewhat independently. They're not here in the office. They're not under direct supervision. We're not approving every action that they take. There is a great degree of independence to the work that they do. And that justifies for us right now the consulting role. But again, as I mentioned, going forward, we're probably going to study that a little closer.
The IRS has about 19 or 20 items that help them distinguish whether you're a contractor or an employee. And so when you go to explore that, you might want to get that listing and evaluate it. Whose equipment, right. Some have already been listed, but whose equipment do they use? Things like that. So there's a whole slew of them.
Thanks, Linda.
It also depends on if they have their own company. If they're a consultant and they consult with you and 5 other people, then they're not your employee. They're not your employee. They're a consultant, a 1099 person.
Does it also depend on whether the position is guaranteed for any length of time, or it's short term from grant to grant or something?
No, most employment's at will anyway, so I don't know that that would make a significant difference. Obviously, if you have an employee contract, that would drive that, but just the fact that you've engaged them now, I'm not sure, and I've been away from it long enough that I would look at the listing that the IRS you can do some research on the IRS website and get that
right
pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, obviously moving people into employment status is going to have more impact in terms of all the bullshit. Excuse me, who said that? All the stuff that happens, when you have an employee in terms of, performance agreements and appraisals and,
yeah,
records and all this other stuff. Not looking forward to any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Elaine, I know this isn't related to what we're just now talking about, but you were talking about the situation, a little bit of bad actors and how they can come after directors and officers. What was that? Are there a couple of scenarios that you've seen where that is a realistic thing?
So yes, there was a situation where the agency did their own payroll, and it there was a lack of segregation of duties. It's like one person had all the control over the checkbook and was responsible for filing the payroll taxes, and they did not. The board of directors was accepting everything that they were being given by the executive director, and basically he was defrauding the agency, not remitting payroll taxes. He ended up in jail, and the officers and board ended up having to pay those payroll taxes to satisfy the liability to the government. So it can happen in real life. So as officers and directors, you want to be sure that, especially when it comes to payroll taxes, where they're personally liable, that you're using a reputable firm, third-party agency who's just a complete package. I mean, that's my recommendation as a best practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you want to make sure you also have insurance.
Mhm.
Officer and board of
Yeah,
director
D&O.
liability insurance.
Yep.
Although insurance will not cover for malfeasance.
That's
Right.
true.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what I wondered. Right. Wow. Oh,
So we have something called a crime policy. Does that get to the malfeasant portion of it?
No,
Really doesn't.
Well,
Because I thought the
not-
crime policy was that, if I stole money.
I'm saying it would not cover directors and officers for malfeasance.
Okay.
So their job is to be aware of the business of the agency. And if they
Mhm.
choose not to do that because of the structures they allow to go unchecked, then that is malfeasance.
Mhm.
boy.
I have a question on a whole different topic, unless
Yeah,
people
please.
are still
No, go
dealing
ahead.
with this one. I'm just curious what people do about in-kind donations. And if they record them on the books and how they value them.
We do.
We
How do you
do.
value them?
There actually is a way that the IRS approves for that. Firstly, you cannot put the value on it. The person who provides that service or that good is the one that has to apply the value.
Mhm.
So they report that. So you can use a form where the person just reports that to you along with the gift.
Right.
Generally, we only record things that we would otherwise have to pay for. So if we know that we need all new office furniture, and we find a store that will give us the office furniture, that gets recorded on both the income and the expense side. And we record a line item of income and in-kind expense, and they zero each other out.
If they give you a big discount, do you record the discount amount? So that you book it at what it would have cost? If they give it to you, not a sale that's going on, but they just say, given what you
Yeah.
do, we'll give you 40% off. Would you record that?
I probably wouldn't, just because of the PIA factor. And anyone who doesn't know what the PIA factor is, you can look that up. I won't be crass like Wendy and cuss in front of everyone.
So,
I probably
But it would
wouldn't,
also-
unless that 40% off is like 40% off $100,000.
I was going to say, I think might depend on the amount, not the percentage.
Well,
Yeah,
Well, but
And
if it's a
also,
third
are
party
they-
transaction, then I don't know that you would necessarily, obviously you could throw out huge numbers, but it's a third party transaction. I don't think you need to record that. It's a discount.
Elaine, you started to say
often-
something?
yeah, it often depends if they're asking for a donor letter. Because many times agencies will donate either materials or discounted materials or professional services because they want to take that as a donation. And if you are giving them a donor letter that assesses, acknowledges a value. So like your example, 40% off $100,000. They say, well, we would like to be recognized for our 40% contribution.
Yeah.
Then yes, you're definitely going to want to add that to the value of what you book.
Thank you.
Hmm.
I just wanted to add one small point. Whenever we get something donated, I always word the acknowledgement, thank you for the donation of furniture, which you estimate to be valued at, so that it's clear that it's the donor's estimation that's being reflected. And then I can say, it's fully deductible to the extent of the law. The other thing I also just wanted to mention is that independent sector puts a dollar value on volunteer time on a state-by-state basis. I know in the District of Columbia, it's an incredibly high dollar amount per hour, but whatever jurisdiction you're in, you can go to independent sector and see what dollar amount. That might not be something you include officially in your books, but certainly in annual reports or whatever, it's nice to be able to reflect, that we had $400 million worth of volunteer
Right.
time donated
That's
last
a
year.
good point.
And-
It is a good talking point. If you are really a volunteer heavy organization, and we're all recording. We don't always record here's the thing. We don't record hours, but we record requests, and we can estimate. I think it's fair enough to estimate how long the average request takes to fill, a round trip ride, 90 minutes, say, and then you can go from there. But we decided to stop asking volunteers to put in hours. It's somewhere along the way. And, but I guess that's easy enough for us to do the math on our end. And so
And
you're
if
right.
you
I think
use-
it's like $31 in Virginia, isn't it, Wendy? Do I have that right?
Yeah, it's high. Right.
Yeah, it's like 28 in Maryland, I think. But if you use that, you can also calculate the value of the time, and you can enter that on your schedule on your 990. And that's really important for organizations like ours that, 80% of all of the money that flows through our coffers is volunteer time.
Right.
I've been told in the past by auditors that we could get into trouble if we counted volunteer time unless the person did what they were doing for us on a professional basis. So, when we have an attorney who gives us pro bono legal counsel, we can count that. But when I have Susie Q volunteer who's driving a member, if she's not a professional driver, then I can't count that. That's what I've been told.
So you can't count that you can't report that as a financial
Correct.
gain or loss.
Correct.
But you can on your 990 not list that as a line item and list just a general somebody who comes in to help organize a file cabinet or drives a member. You can just list that in the Denise, you may, or Elaine, you may know I can't remember which.
Schedule O, the Schedule O.
Schedule O.
The Schedule O
Yeah,
of your 990.
right. And that's part of painting the picture and telling your
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Very good. That's a big thing I got out of this whole meeting is when you talked about that.
Yeah.
Well, it's 4 minutes till noon. Any more questions we want to address before we?
Okay, good.
Sign off?
That's bad. I was like, bad, right? What?
Yeah, I have a quick question is, we're thinking about separating
So,
from the foundation.
Okay.
And I'm wondering what
And,
you guys spend on insurance, liability insurance.
I'm going to try to get Denise to mute. I'm trying to.
But I don't.
Denise?
I know one of them.
Okay.
Sorry, but that's not me.
Oh, sorry, Denise, I'm throwing you under the bus. That wasn't right. Can everybody mute if you're not either talking or asking a question? We don't have much time left.
I just did our budget and our liability is 1,900, but that doesn't include the crime and all that.
Ours
Thank
is
you.
1970, so right in the same ballpark.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
I'm looking at our insurance, renewal policy. And we're paying on general liability and auto liability, 1,100. On directors and officers, we're paying about 1,100, property 300, and accident 780.
Thank you so much.
We pay about 2,500 for D&O and overall general liability.
I appreciate the info. Thank you.
I think we're
Yeah,
at
so we use
2,300.
the Nonprofits Insurance Alliance. It looks like our numbers are a little bit lower than folks.
Ours
That's
is about 2,300 and we use that nonprofit insurance alliance, but that's for everything. 2,300 is all our insurance.
Right, so all of ours is 3,300 for everything. And again, we have a workers' comp and a crime policy that's on top of that I don't have the numbers for yet.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeannie,
Thank you.
interesting. You said that is the same agent you use? Or
Well,
same,
yeah, I mean, yes, it's through the Nonprofit Insurance Alliance.
because Wendy and Doug, you might recall that we had a recent meeting where we talked about a letter that Bethesda Metro Area Village received from their agent, and I didn't think it was the same agent that we had, and there was a disturbing thing in that letter, so.
No,
that's
that
probably-
was, we're the ones who received that letter.
Oh, you're the ones. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I got real nervous because that's the same agent we use. Oh, I got it mixed up, Doug. Sorry.
That's quite all right.
I don't want to get off topic, but some specific.
So
yeah.
we're using, we actually did go back to the broker on that, and they're giving us an alternative, but we have to do the whole 20-page application to a different underwriter, and I'm in the midst of doing that now.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see what that does.
Okay. Phew. Got it. Mary Jo, hey.
Yeah,
Mary
hi.
Jo?
I just wanted to ask all of you to think about other pain point issues that you would like WAVE to organize a support session on, one of our Zoom sessions. I mean, I think you've seen how well it works to just have this give and take. And so please email me and let me know if there's just some other burning issue that you think that you'd like to be discussing with other villages.
So, good point, Mary Jo. Thank you. This session today started off being a session about financial, legal, and insurance issues. And we decided it was way, way too much to tackle. So we just did financial. But insurance issues do come up, and Mary Jo has suggested it for our next WAVE meeting. I mean, part of that meeting is going to be devoted to talking more about our award winners and letting them.
No, half and half. No.
Yeah.
Time to
But
look at
it might be the right time to do insurance issues.
Mhm.
So if you think there's enough interest, I am interested in knowing if this group would that be a good one to have, right?
Yeah.
Your questions,
think
or
so.
even write them in advance. We can ask some of the brokers to whatever, but that's what we're looking at doing for July. Okay.
Great.
All right. Any other questions before we move on to the next part of our lives?
No, but thank you so much for this.
Thank you for organizing this and running this.
Yes, very
Elaine,
good.
I really, really appreciate your time this morning. I know you've got your real job and you gave us a lot of time, and I appreciate it. I got a lot of good nuggets from the things that you talked about. So thank you so much for being with us.
Yes.
It was very much my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good rest of the day and a good rest of the week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You
Bye.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.